Welcome to the Deck Specialist Podcast for builders, designers, and deck pros pushing the limits of outdoor living. Get insider insights, advanced techniques, and strategies to grow your craft and your business. Because great decks build more than homes, they build reputations and memories. Get ready for something special, the Deck Specialist Podcast.
A deck is only as good as what holds it up. ProWood's TrueFrame joist is built different. #1 grade, ground contact treated lumber for strength you can count on. Kiln dried for stability you can trust. And precision engineered for uniform sizing that saves you time. Get advanced framing performance without changing your tools or techniques. It's wood that just works. TrueFrame joist, consistency you can build on.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining me today on our podcast. It's been a while since we caught up, but I wanted to have you on and see, what you're doing and talk about your latest project and, where things are heading for you.
Sure. That sounds good.
That's great. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself. I know the audience knows you, but if you could just kind of give them an overview of your history in the industry and what you've been doing the last year or two.
Okay. So my name is Jason Russell. I am the owner of Dr. Decks in Tacoma, Washington. Also known as Dr. Decks Online, DRDECKS is my handle on social media, YouTube, all that good stuff. I've been in business since 1991. So 35 years I've been building decks, and that's primarily what I do. We started with cedar decks and then graduated to aftermarket products once they were available, and now exclusively use like high-end PVCs and things like that. I'm known as a heat manipulator of man-made decking products in our industry. So I like to bend and curve and make shapes and different designs, and I like to throw away a lot of money doing that. But we all have our afflictions in life, and one of mine is deckboard bending.
Yeah, in fact, you're very well known for that, and we saw some of that in your recent NADRA. You got the top honors at NADRA.
Yeah.
This year. And the Kiki Project. Can you tell us a little bit about that project, how that developed,
Wow.
and what it's
Sure.
like to be on top again?
Well, I look at those builds, I call them vanity builds or ego strokers. You don't really, like, people say, man, are you going to retire on that one? No, I make my average income building. Like, you spend more energy and more time creating something amazing than you do if you're just building squares and rectangles. But I figure that build, you're lucky in your career if you get one of those in your entire career of building decks. If you get to build something like that once, that's amazing. For me, I've been cranking one out about every 2 to 3 years, which they take a lot out of you. Like, I leave my DNA with these people. You get to know them, that you become family and friends. You might go out to dinner with them a few times after the build, just to keep in touch, because you generate this synergy between clients. When you're spending 6 months at somebody's home, and we're timely people, we're there at 8 a.m. and we leave at 4 p.m. So you have 8 hours to, collaborate with me or come out and talk to me or get to know me. And so these clients, they become our friends and our family, and they're also spending quite a bit of money to create something that amazing. That was a 6-month build for us. So it took half a year to complete that deck. That was a month over what I thought it would take, but knowing as we got into the build, realizing she wasn't on board with the railing system that I wanted to sell her. going to have to upgrade that. And even after the cost of that and realizing, wow, it's double the price or whatever, she had the ability to afford it. So after ingesting that information and having a chance to reflect on it, she was able to go ahead and pull the trigger. So, which made it even better. It just, everything about that build, I just put all my energy into it. I had nothing else to think about. I mean, I was selling other jobs and keeping the business running, but my main efforts were on that particular project.
Well, can you give me a few details about that? I know that it was covered extensively, but
Yeah.
can you let the audience
Yeah.
in on how you created it and some of the techniques you used, and was it more than you expected to be in terms of, did it turn out beyond what you had imagined in a more positive
Yeah.
way?
Yeah, I would think so. First off, it's a front and back deck, and I had a basic like blueprint because this home was very unique. It was built on piles, so these piles were driven back in the '80s, right into the ground. I don't know how many feet deep, uh, and then the deck was also built on piles. The problem was when they built the home, they just pushed the framing of the home out as the deck framing. So that became a serious issue, but the client was like, "I wanna keep the piles," and I did an inspection on them, and all of them were good except one was marginal. But, we decided to keep all the piles, put in new beams, kept a couple of the beams as well because they were integral to the home, but we waterproofed them so there's no longer any more decay or issues with those. So I kept the basic footprint and then I modified it. And she said, "This one area where our fire pit is, um, I really want to change that. I don't really care for the way it is now. I want you to do something amazing. This is why we brought you in here. We know you have these abilities, these special superpowers that not many possess." I'm like, "Okay, I'll come up with something." So I got on the computer, started designing around things, and that's where things kind of took a couple rights and lefts until we finally dialed in on the design. And you can only, unless you're Robert Hodachek, you can only design so well on a computer. Like I have my limitations. I didn't recruit Robert on this page. I probably should have, but I got it close to what I felt she wanted. And she's like, "That's it." But even after that, as we're building, she's like, "Hey, can you maybe curve this side of this too, since you're curving this side? Is that possible?" It's like, "Well, we are framing in aluminum and I've never done that before. So yes, I can do that." I'm kind of a yes man. I don't like to say no too much as long as it meets our budget and it makes sense. We'll do it. And so just her little inputs here and there really helped navigate how we were going to do things. And then the primary attraction on the deck is this focal point, this center point on the deck where there's multiple levels that cascades into these different curved benches, different curved stairs, and then eventually goes into this curved tilt back bent bench with a curved back on both sides and just everything. And I was taking boards that I really probably shouldn't have been doing this, but if you know me, then you know me. You know I'm going to push my boundaries. Sometimes I get in trouble, and I thought I was really in trouble. I threw away a couple $1,000s worth of materials trying to make the parts and pieces because I was asking the material to do more than it was allowable. That obviously the companies like TimberTech, AZEK, that's what I use primarily. So that product, they don't endorse what I do. They love it now, but back 20 years ago, I'd come to a trade show and they're like, "Jason, we're not going to endorse you for this. We don't know what you're doing here. We got a bunch of other people that want to do it now because we were published in like Professional Deck Builder or something about it, whatever." And I said, "I don't care." They said, "Yeah, and you're going to void the warranty, and we're not going to honor that." I'm like, "I don't care. That's cool. Thank you. My clients, this is what they want. And this is what I'm going to do. If it falls apart or if it breaks later or delaminates or something. I said, I'm not going to ask for a warranty claim. I'll just make another piece. And they said, yeah, we're just concerned about all the other contractors behind you that maybe don't frame it the same way you do or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, I see your concerns, but I'm never going to stop doing this. This is my passion. This is my art. So at first it was a really bumpy road to get to that point. And then eventually they started publishing my work in their magazine, which was kind of cool, or their catalogs and things like that. So I'm sorry, I know I'm going way off point here with it, but as far as the design of that deck, it's basically all of my knowledge over the last 35 years culminating into one project where I was given basically free reign. And when people do that with me, I really try to over deliver for them.
So how did you figure out how to do the things you didn't know how to do going into the project in terms of that bending?
A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of problem solving. I do that a lot. I problem solve in my sleep, which is kind of convenient because, I'll go to bed stressing out about something, and by the time I wake up in the morning, I have an answer. Like, okay, this is how we're going to attack this. So if I don't have an answer, then it's like, well, we got to figure this out. A lot of what we do, all deck builders, there's a lot of problem solving. You can build two of the exact same projects and have completely different processes of build because you're running into different issues along the way. So for me, the first one was, okay, we're using aluminum framing and we got to cut a 12-foot radius through it. And some of these angles are 70 degrees, which you can't use a chop saw for that. You can't really do you have to do it a certain way. So we had to figure out, okay, how do we cut this? How do we get through it? And we were using all kinds of different tools to get that done. And then it's like, well, how do we connect it? There's not an end grain to screw to. So how do we connect this part to this part? And we're using the manufacturer parts and adapting them over, and then using different brands of screws and different fasteners to get what I needed and where I was comfortable feeling, okay, this will stand the test of time. Let's add this, this, and this to it, and we'd mock things up, fake it, whatever, and then finally execute. And that's how we created. I don't think most people realize the complexity or the difficulty of what we had to do with the materials we were using. But that deck's going to last 100 years. We've waterproofed all the beams, all the posts, all that stuff, so that it will not take any more damage from the weather.
Well, so what pushed it into the award-winning level? Like, what do you think really kind of pushed it over the edge?
Well, I think there's several things. The quality of the product, the rail system, all the bending, the bench and the fire pit and all the curves and the lighting was pretty cool. And then she hired us to do a full backyard landscape lighting, because after she saw all the lights on the stairs and on the deck, she's like, hey, can you kind of zhuzh up my backyard a little bit and do some landscape lighting? I'm like, sure, why not? So then I got Inlight involved, and man, those guys, they totally rocked it. They have this thing called a lab, and you send them your design. And I have a drone, so I'm like doing some really cool drone aerials for the team to look at. I'm taking some day shots, some night shots, gave them all this information, did some drawings. I send them my 3D renderings of the deck, the plot plan, everything that I had. And then they came up with this killer design of what lights go where, which ones, how to do it. Here's where you run your wires. Because we ran 3 transformers with 3 channels per transformer. And then we wired it all so that they can have different zones hooked up and ran different lights at different times. It was kind of insane. But I think it was a combination of everything we did. But that bench, I think that kind of took it, because the bench won an award on its own, on top of winning. Like we took first place in our category. We took top of show or best of show, but then we also won unique feature which I was really proud of because I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. I knew we'd probably place, but I didn't know we were going to sweep. You know, that was
Right.
pretty cool. And
Well,
I know the competition was stiff. It was close.
absolutely. There were some really good projects last year.
Yeah.
Amazing projects. How many projects do you build on average each year as a company?
On average, we do 8 to 10. Just really nice jobs, and I'm still working, so I'm part of the team. It's a 3-man crew, and then we have our my media director come out once a week and shoot for our YouTube channel. So, but he doesn't really do any work. He documents the work.
Okay.
So there's just 3 of us.
Okay. You have represented a lot of different brands over the years, some
Hmm.
tool companies, and you know, you've been a brand ambassador, for many
Hmm.
years and still are.
Hmm.
Um, how would you say tools and techniques have changed since you've been in the industry?
Well, cordless has really
Mhm.
changed the game. I feel that the tool companies make cordless tools to sell us batteries. They'll give you the tool, but you're going to pay for the battery. And you need several of those batteries to power your tools. And you need, and then you're only going to get a year or 2 out of the batteries before they start to fail. So finding a brand that has a longevity, because we're charging those things every day. Most of our battery, and we have $10,000 worth of batteries on our job site, and then we have, I don't even know how much in tools, but it's amazing how the technology has really improved. So that we used to have an air compressor that you would plug in. The only plug-in tool I have right now is a table saw, because the technology isn't there for ripping like wet treated lumber. You can't. It just won't work on a cordless table saw. And then like heat guns and things like that. I don't like cordless heat guns because they're not delivering the heat that I'm looking for to create the folded corners and all the cool little tricky stuff that we do.
Well, speaking of that, tell me a little bit about how you do your curving, for the
Hmm.
kind of insider,
Sure.
tips on how you do what you do.
Well, the deck board bending, I've chosen a brand of board that will handle the punishment and be able to take it to the next level. So I use a product called AZEK, made by a company called TimberTech. It's their premium board. It's straight PVC. People hire me all the time to bend composite boards, which are trickier. And I explain it to them. It's like, look, I can't pull this off and make it perfect. Like if you bought this board from the manufacturer and they were making them, that's what I try to create for my clients and myself. But when you're bending a composite core, it's just a totally different game than if you're bending PVC. So I stuck with a brand that I like, and the colors I like, everything else I love, and a product that'll take the punishment. I use silicone heating blankets by a company called HeatCon out of Seattle, because they're in my backyard. Actually a city called Tukwila. I'm 45 minutes from there. If I have an issue, I just drive up and talk to them. A lot of the people across the country aren't so lucky. So um, and then we've developed systems for heating the boards for a specific amount of time with a specific amount of heat, depending on the color, the width, and all that. And then we create forms, usually right on the floor of my shop. And then we heat those boards, and then we put them in the form, let them cool, and then they keep that shape.
Is curving boards your favorite aspect of building, or is there something else that kind of catches your fancy?
In my opinion, I think deck board bending is the end all be all. Like, I won't stop ever doing that. I'll do that into my 80s and 90s. Like when I'm too old to work, I'll just travel and bend deck boards with people you know, for whatever reason. Whatever, if somebody sees the value in having me come to them and show them how to do it, I do want to leave a legacy and maybe share my knowledge and get it out there so the younger generations can continue doing that. It's when I was started deckboard bending, there was no internet, there was no YouTube, there was nothing to show you how to do it. You couldn't figure it out by watching a screen and then say, "Oh, that's how they do it. Okay, I think I'll figure it out." I had to figure it out on my own. So it was a little bit different back then compared to it is today. There's a lot of guys out there doing it, and now there's competition for heat blankets. Like I've seen a lot of other types and brands of blankets on the market that people are using, but I don't use those. I just use the Heatcon products.
Well, speaking of not having, the internet and social media and all that at that time, did you have mentors that helped guide you early in business?
Not too much. I was affiliated with a guy for a while, but he was, as I got more popular, he was trying to use that popularity for his own personal gain. So I kind of had to sever that relationship. And he was also introducing me as his student, which I didn't like because that wasn't the case. He didn't teach me anything. We were kind of learning together, on how we were doing this. And so I just kind of took my own lane. And then when I realized, okay, I really like doing this. This is really cool. I actually took it further. I built a heat chamber so I could heat railing parts as well. And I started bending rail components, which again was illegal and not looked upon properly and could have been, against code requirement, and because you're, affecting the structure of the rail and all these things. But man, was it cool to be able to curve a piece of railing to match the radius of the deck I just built.
Well, how do you get a passcode? If it's not,
It,
if the material's not meant to do that, how are you
it's a
getting
great question, Sarah.
the project approved? You have somebody,
Well,
you know?
most feel okay. So most feel okay. Let's see. How would I put this? The hardest part about the permit is getting it through plans checking. Okay. So if the plans checker doesn't ask, great. Here you go. Here's your permit. Go build your deck. And then the field inspectors are usually pretty cool, and they're just mostly fascinated at what I just did. Like they're so enamored that they don't even think about, do you think you affected the molecular structure of the railing enough to create a less than 200-pound force breakage or something like that? And the answer to that is I don't think so. No. You can obviously rip on this stuff, and move it back and forth. And I mean, that's what I see a lot of building inspectors do. They just want to make sure that somebody doesn't trip and fall on it and bust through it. But it's a valid point. I had somebody bring that up to me once. I was like, yeah, I see your point, but it hasn't become an issue, or I haven't been red flagged on it or denied a final inspection because of it.
Well, how do you get the homeowner to agree? I mean, do they have to sign some sort of disclosure saying they understand that this is
It's
not?
usually verbal. I think
Mhm.
most of my clients, they are more into form over function. They like the way it looks. They want that special, unique feature that nobody else has, or that very few will have. So
Okay,
I
and
would
so,
never install something that I felt would fail. If that was the case, I would say, hey, I can't do this because this is dangerous. Safety
well,
is number one.
that totally makes sense. Now you're building in the Pacific Northwest, correct?
Hmm.
So is there something about that area that you have to keep in mind when you are, you know, using these materials and, and producing these projects? And is there something particular about that region that's different than maybe other regions around the United States?
I don't think so much. I think that you have a basic building code that you need to adhere to, regardless of where you're building. So, and we did definitely make sure that we're addressing all the most of the things that the building inspectors, the officials, are looking for is how the deck is connected to the house to make sure that it's not going to collapse or fall away. They want to make sure your stairs are proper. They want to make sure that your railings meet code as far as height and picket spacing or cable or whatever it is that you're medium is in between posts, that kind of thing. And a lot of field inspectors are kind of in and out. They don't spend a ton of time with us, just making sure every field inspector has a different agenda as far as what they're looking for. And then I've heard some nightmare stories, like especially people in like Ontario, Canada, which is completely, it's not even in the United States. But I've also heard, well, these guys won't allow us to do this, or this. And then once you learn those things, it becomes a little bit easier to navigate what you can and can't do with your local building official.
Totally makes sense. Well, let me ask you this. I know social media is a huge part of your business now. And well, really, it has been for years. But can you tell the audience a little bit about why that's important to you, and and where you're heading in that regard?
Sure. Well, we're going. Eventually, I'm not going to be able to build decks anymore. As a matter of fact, I've got carpal tunnel in both wrists.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm slowing down a little bit. So I have to figure out how I'm going to supplement my income in the future. And so I might be traveling more and making more appearances and going to other jobs. I might be doing probably, and I've already got some people on board with this, is call it a job site crash, where I just show up and hang out with the team, bring some swag and hang out, and maybe go over some building techniques or promote a particular product that possibly my client wants me to promote. Having a digital presence on the internet has been a really positive thing for me. It's afforded me opportunities with companies that I didn't ever think I'd get. And you can see that happening a lot right now. There's a lot of post-COVID influencers out there that are thirsty. They're trying really hard to knock me off the top, or however you want to call it, and a lot of the agreements I have are solid with the companies. I like working multiple year contracts with companies to represent a brand for a product or something like that. It's up to marketing who they choose. Like, tool companies are really hard to work with. Tool companies are willing to send you some stuff, but nobody really wants to financially compensate you for promoting their product. So that becomes really difficult. Like, is me giving thousands of dollars worth of exposure worth $250 for a tool? Now send me some batteries, we'll talk.
Exactly.
Because a 112 amp hour battery is $320. If you send me 10 of those, I said, okay, we'll do some videos. But it can be lucrative, but you have a set of rules and things you abide by. Like, for one, I have 5-year-olds that follow me, so we never curse on our page. We run a clean campaign. Doesn't mean that doesn't happen on site, but it's never documented, because people have shown me mom and dad with their kid on the iPad watching Dr. Dex. That really tugs at your heart, man. It's really cool to think that there is a really younger generation out there that actually enjoys watching these videos.
Well, who are these 5-year-olds? I mean, are they
just
children, or
they're kids of builders, like daughter and sons of deck builders all over the nation.
That's neat, actually.
It really is. Yeah, I mean, I probably have one on my phone I could share with you. But like, they're in their jammies and they're getting ready to go to bed, but let's watch a Dr. Dex video before you go to bed. And people send me this stuff and I'm tearing up, I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. Like, thank you. So then I'll send them something,
Well, is there a credo that you live by for yourself or for the industry as a whole?
I've kind of, I'm kind of a loner, I guess, a little bit. I mean, I do enjoy, like, when I go to a trade show, I see all my friends, I see all the people, over the years, I've gotten to know a lot of these people that work with these companies, and I consider some of them my friends, because we always go out to dinner, we always meet, we always do these things. But yeah, I just I'm a pay it forward kind of guy. I feel like if I put it out there, then I'm going to receive it back in some way or form. I just want to be kind and stay humble. I think the one thing over anything else that my wife is adamant about is that I remain humble. No matter how popular or how many people want to shake my hand or how many photographs I'm taking, how many babies I'm kissing, that I remain humble. So I've been trying really hard to, you know, keep my confidence level moderate, So like, hey, there's nothing wrong with being confident in what you do. You just don't want to be overconfident.
Right. You don't want to be
There's
cocky.
Right, right. I don't want to be cocky, and sometimes I can come off that way to certain people if they don't know who I am. And it's been funny, Sarah, because I've been to these events before, and I know this other guy. He's an influencer, right? And he's with some people, and the people are talking to me, and the people are saying, "Well, do you know who this guy is?" And I said, "Yeah, I know him." And then, but I didn't, and that was it. I didn't say, "Well, do you know who I am?"
Right.
Because your buddy knows exactly who I am, but you don't. So it's just kind of funny to how I mean maybe they were proud of their buddy, and how well he's done. I think you just have to take it all in stride and know that it can be all taken away the next day. I'm learning that a little bit right now. Like some of my agreements are coming to an end, and instead of whining and crying about it, I'm like, okay, well, that just opens the door for another opportunity with somebody else, you know? And there might be some opportunities missed, or there might be things that I've had to pass on because a lot of the companies I work with want me to remain exclusive to their brand, which gets tricky when I'm trying to navigate. You can't be, people call me a NASCAR sometimes because it's like, well, you represent so many brands. But look, some of these brands have been representing for 7, 8, 9 years. How long have you been representing that glue company for? Oh, a year? Oh, okay, cool.
So,
Good for
so how
you.
do you balance that then? I mean, because I agree. I think that companies are increasingly requiring exclusivity in
Mhm.
terms of representation or being an ambassador of a product. So do they know that going in? Is that part of the agreement, or how do you
Well,
know?
every company's different. So you gotta read the contract. And sometimes I'll read ink stuff when I'm looking at something to sign and say, look, I agree to all this except this and this. You guys can't pin me in. The one thing that's hardest is if you have a product but you don't make something in that lineup that I need to build, and I can have another opportunity with that company to bring that part in or whatever, to share it and show it and get a better price on it, or possibly get compensated for using it. Please don't diminish my ability to make income. Because I think even like termination agreements and people that sign these exclusivity, or I don't know what the legal term is, but if you're let go of a company and then you can't go find another job within so many miles of where you live because you signed this deal, um, I don't even know if that's legal. Like I've heard that they've been overturning those kind of laws because you can't restrict the right for somebody to generate income to provide for your family.
Right, like an
We all
NBA.
have,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Uh-huh. Yeah. That totally makes sense. But do you as an influencer have a responsibility though to set, let's say, a leadership example to the industry? I mean, you've been in
Mhm.
this 30 plus years, 35
Right.
years,
Yeah.
you know, do you see yourself as setting a higher level of an example as an influencer within the industry? And perhaps maybe some would say one of the first, if not the first.
Well, you got a point. But my goal was never to do that. My goal was just to share my journey. That's all I wanted to do. Like, just, hey, it's funny because we have a lot of followers, right? And a lot of people seem to know who I am, but all I'm doing is talking to a cell phone. I don't know how many people I'm affecting. Still today, to this day, I have no clue. Even though people tell me that all the time, hey, I saw your video, I love your videos, da, 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 da. But I just I don't, you just don't know. It's not like you're a movie star or something. And I've been with celebrities because of Instagram, and I've seen how people act around them, and it's like, wow, now that's next level. That's crazy. I go to a trade show and people can be that way around me, but it's insane to see what true fame is really like.
Well, let me ask you perhaps a little touchy question. Um,
Hmm.
I've heard it said that at the trade shows that some of the builders just don't like the concept of influencers and what they're representing to the industry and
Hmm.
kind of how they're putting on airs, if you will, and
Yeah,
what do you think about that notion?
I think that everybody should take a step back and just observe and realize that, yeah, maybe that guy is kind of being a jackass. you know because I see it as well, and that's why our number one cardinal rule for me is to remain humble. I hope I'm doing that. I hope most people can realize that when I'm in a room with people, I don't want to be the guy that people leave and go, man, that guy's a real jerk. He's really full of himself, and I hear it all the time about others. And I just just kind of shrug my shoulders and go, well, everybody has their opinion. Everybody has, their model of what they're trying to do. And some people are just that way, and you can't change that. To me, I always look at it like this. Would a company hire me if I'm dropping F bombs on my page?
That's true.
I'd say 90% no. And even the ones that would, I still won't do it because I just have a somewhat code of ethics. Like I want to keep it clean. I want to have a legacy and something that people can watch in 20 years from now or 50 years from now when I'm gone.
Well, your 5-year-olds can't watch a channel with F-bombs, can they?
No,
Your
no,
parents are
no,
gonna
no.
say, "No, he's not
Nine.
the builder to watch," right?
That's
So if
right.
you're trying
That's
to
right.
affect that generation and you are dropping, curse words here and there, you're not gonna have that next generation watching you. So
Probably not.
there is a reason to keep it clean in that regard.
Well, maybe you're not in it for possible influencer gain or representative gain of what you're doing. You know, I've sold $250,000 decks because of my Instagram page, and it had nothing to do with any kind of a influencer thing or some kind of a deal I had with a company. It had to do with somebody taking a pair of binoculars and looking at a guy across the lake and then hashtagging Lake Taps and then finding me and then DMing me and saying, "Hey, we're watching you build that deck over there. Can we come over and look at it?" I'm like, "Sure, come on over. Here's the gate code," and then selling them a deck.
Wow. Okay, that's unique. I mean,
That's the power of social. That's the true power of social media. That's better than a home show quality lead. Like those. It happens.
right. I know that I've been told that some builders are getting leads through AI searches from homeowners. Are you seeing that as well?
What I'm saying, I hired Alex Danner with Fence and Deck Marketers. I had a huge issue. I mean, really bad. And I didn't even realize it. My Google page, my business page was suspended for some reason. And I didn't even know it. But this happened last May. And in December, I'm like, how come people aren't emailing us? How come we can't be found? Well, come to find out, um, our page was suspended. And if you looked up Dex Tacoma or deck builders near me, I wouldn't show up. If you're looking for Dr. Dex, yeah, no problem. You got me. But that doesn't always work because if somebody doesn't know who to look for, they're just going to type deck builders near me or deck builders local city near me, and I wasn't showing up. So Alex had a system of how I got my business page back, and now they're revamping our web page completely. So even though I'm in the fourth quarter of my career, and we're trying to make some moves to figure out, okay, how are we gonna bow out gracefully. I still want to have a strong presence on the internet no matter what. So we're investing in all that right now, and he and his team are brilliant.
Well, you said bowing out gracefully. Is that a timeline that you're working on in terms of maybe pivoting your business? And if so,
Yes,
anything you
yeah.
can share with the audience?
Well, it's still early in that it's early um, in our decisions on how much longer am I going to be in the field. How am I going to bring in a team of people that are going to work the business, that kind of thing. And then how much of the social media are we going to continue to do? I think I'm going to do social media until I die. Regardless of where I live or where I go or anything, I'm always going to be connected to some point.
Well, what will it look like? If you're not building, what will that social media look like?
Well, I'll go to the companies I represent right now and say, hey, body's falling apart, back's no longer working right, need to kind of get out of the field. Would you still be interested in me creating content around your brand, but in a different light? And that's where the job site crashes and other things like that can come in. I can still build something in my shop or in my backyard or whatever, to hit my goals or my targets for whatever people are still interested in having me. Then I can also travel. I got it. Then I can also travel and go places. So I think that in the future, I'm going to be more of a consultant than a builder.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, is if you were going to possibly be a designer or a consultant for other
Yeah,
projects.
both of those. I mean, anybody that wants to hire me right now, I actually have clients that are asking, hey, for example, I met some really great guys at a trade show at the IBS, and they were like, hey, we think our crew of 20, they all follow you, they all want to be aspire to be like you. I'm like, cool, man. And they said, would you be interested in coming to us and maybe hosting like a 3-day event or something where you spend some time with the team, you come out to the job sites, you check us out, you give us advice, maybe bring a set of blankets, show us how to bend decking. I'm like, sure. So we just came up with a day rate, and we're going to be doing that in July.
Oh, that's neat. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
we'll have to follow up on that and see, how that turned
Yeah.
out.
So like, let's say I'm away for 4 days. That would cover my monthly expenses.
Okay, that makes sense.
So then I have the rest of the month to figure out how to make extra money to sustain income or whatever, I don't think
And
it'll be too difficult. I just I have to commit to it.
yeah, you had mentioned early on in this discussion about, maybe you could have had Robert in as an consultant for your design work. And I noticed that a lot of the award-winning projects this year did have some sort of design collaboration. Do you see yourself maybe becoming one of those collaborators, so that
Yeah.
you can continue to have
Yeah.
a input into the industry?
I don't see why not. Hey man, I'm open. I'm open for suggestion. I'm open to opportunity. And any way that opportunity can present itself to where it meets my brand, I'm always going to retain command of Dr. Dex and the brand Dr. Dex, the trademark, all that stuff. So if somebody wants to harness the power of that, or they see the value of having a collaboration of that, then I'm open to considering just about anything that comes our way. Sometimes it's a fit, but sometimes it's not. I say no quite a bit, and I've gotten a lot of no's as well. So
Okay, so you're just kind of looking for your next fit. That makes sense.
yeah, always looking for the next fit. And as I mature, I feel that that's going to be more of consulting and going places and meeting up with people and educating. I mean, I never considered myself an educator ever. but I do educate a lot of people about a lot of stuff just because, like I said, I always just wanted to share my journey. It wasn't so much that I was like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to do this. It's more about just showing it. Like our YouTube channel, like I encourage everybody listening to go subscribe to our YouTube channel because it's a great wealth of information. We have over 2,000 videos already. Over the last 6 years, we've been cranking on this channel to get it going. And there's so much information there, and it's published really well. It's not like my Instagram stuff is more gritty, and I think people like that too. But then our YouTube stuff is polished because my son handles it.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah,
Well,
shout out to DJ Studio Man.
woo woo. Well, you had mentioned legacy. Tell me, what is your biggest achievement so far?
I think it's well, knowledge is power, right? So I think the fact that so many people know who I am, like when I walk into a room of like-minded people, somebody in the room kind of knows me. I mean, man, I'll go to the bank or Costco in town and people know who I am, and it's just kind of weird. But I think being recognizable in your trade, that's pretty powerful. That's pretty cool. So I think that's the one thing that's impressed me the most is when I walk into like a deck builder symposium or something, and I see so many people smiling at me, like, I don't know you, but you're smiling, so you must know me. You know, it's kind of it's a weird feeling, but it's a good feeling.
That's neat. Well,
It
tell me,
really is.
when you hang up your tools, what do you want
Mhm.
the industry to know about you, or what do you want the lasting legacy to be?
I think if people looked at me kind of like if you know how everybody knows who Bobby Parks is, they look up to him, they respect him. I kind of feel like that's what I'll be when I get a little bit older. You know, something to that tune. Maybe not as revered or regarded, but really, I just want to say, man, that guy was a stone cold gangster about building decks.
Yeah, solid as they come.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what an artist!
yeah.
What an artist! Look at this stuff. Look at oh wow! And then once you find me and you're like, oh wow, look at that! Oh my goodness, hey, check this out! And that would be really cool. So
Pioneer is kind of the word that comes to mind.
there you go.
Like Bobby Parks was a
Yeah,
pioneer when he was building, and now he's a pioneer in directing the industry. And you're a pioneer.
right.
You're now back on top, right? You
Yeah, yeah.
obviously are bringing things to the industry that have not been seen before. And even after 3 decades, you're still reinventing yourself.
Yeah, I still got stuff in the freezer too.
I was going to
I,
ask you
s-
that.
I still have stuff in the freezer that I haven't thought out yet. But
I was going to
I don't
ask
know when
you.
that I don't know when that's going to happen either. When it's right, when the time is right, I'll do it. When I feel it's necessary, I'll do it. There's some really great up and coming talent that I'd like to get near so that I can help guide these guys the right way. And again, if you're listening to this or watching this, humility will get you further in a room than overconfidence will.
Any names you want to drop about who you might?
Nope.
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
no, not no. No, I don't want to really. I mean, the names I drop now are just people that I respect or that I care about or that like that match the conversation or the vibe that we're on. So um I can sit here and shout out a ton of people. Like I have a lot of respect for a lot of guys, but then there's a lot of posers out there too.
Well, are you working on anything right now that we think we're going to see some Nadra mentions next year?
Mm. You know, I don't want to come off overconfident or conceit, but I usually enter that competition when I try to go in for a win. I I I I enter about every 5 years. If I think I can place and it's good for the people that help contribute to the build, then I'll enter for that reason as well. For the companies that make the products that I use to create these beautiful spaces. it's really hard to win a rectangle right now because there's so many good squares and rectangles out there. As a matter of fact, the deck I designed for my own house to rebuild is all squares. There's not one curve in it.
Interesting.
And I don't know why I did that, why I designed it that way, but it flows with what I feel right now. So for me, I think it's compartmentalizing the deck, making spaces usable for the areas like the hot tub, the outdoor kitchen, the relaxing area, the dinner, eating space, maybe a sun area. And I'm not the big gazebo guy with all the amenities underneath the gazebo, but there's so many cool things that are coming out nowadays. They're expensive, and I don't know how some of these people can afford it. I'm like, man, you guys need cars. What are you doing buying a deck? Or you need carpet. But hey, I'll build you a deck, sure. Whatever makes you happy.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, anything else you want to leave with the audience before we end this?
Hey, follow Dr. Dex, Instagram at Dr. Dex, www.drdex.com. Not hard to find. Thank you. Always reach out, leave a question, a comment, whatever. Besides that, Sarah, no, I'm really grateful that you had me on the show, and I'm still out and about. So like, catch me at a trade show or something like that, and I'm always open for a conversation.
Absolutely. Hey, I thank you for your time today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
A deck is only as good as what holds it up. ProWood's TrueFrame joist is built different. #1 grade, ground contact treated lumber for strength you can count on. Kiln dried for stability you can trust. And precision engineered for uniform sizing that saves you time. Get advanced framing performance without changing your tools or techniques. It's wood that just works. TrueFrame joist, consistency you can build on.